Market is doing well. Just like everybody's facing challenges. All the employees are at this time of day with the finding good help, and we are in the same boat. But we are hiring right now for all the positions. But the market is doing well. Everything is going great.
All right, thank you.
Hi.
Oh, hi, Andrea. Thanks for tuning in.
Am I the only one?
Well, it's tough to get an audience, you know.
Oh yeah, I know. I used to be in the theater.
You mean when you play to like 2 or 3 people in the crowd?
Yes.
Yeah,
Or they're only there for the snacks.
oh gosh, I hope not. Gee, how could that be? I didn't know that.
Long time ago. Community theater, that part.
Well, I just finished watching Drive My Car.
Oh yeah?
It's a movie about staging of Uncle Varney.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah. Where is it?
Well, you can stream it on Amazon, or you can watch it at Marymount. It's 3 hours long.
Oh.
But it's a fascinating piece of theater. I thought more of Chekhov, like Samuel Beckett or Edward Albee. They really produced plays that thespians loved.
Yes, but audiences may have had a hard time.
Plus, it was a New York audience, which likes a little struggle and a little angst.
Well, they're used to going, you know.
Well, we have a dedicated theater group here in Cincinnati.
Yes.
My partner was recently at the Playhouse, and it was a packed house, and everybody was back watching everything that ever was performed in the city. Same old.
Yeah. Well, we used to belong to Playhouse. We haven't done that for a long time, and actually, we belong to the symphony, and we've been doing Broadway, and we used to do ensemble theater. We used to do a lot of it.
Yes, but you can't
do it all.
Well, I wish I had a press pass. I would go to everything. Maybe I should get a press pass for the Clifton Chronicle.
Yeah, there you go. Figure a way.
Where do you live, Andrea?
Well, we're originally from St. Louis, both my husband and I. We met in high school. And then we moved here to Cincinnati. Well, I'm not in Cincinnati now, but we moved to Cincinnati after he got out of the Army. We got out of the Army. And then lived in Wyoming, Ohio for 20 years. And then when I got the full-time teaching job at NKU, I got tired of going down 75 to go to school. So, and the kids left, they grew up and they left. So we bought a piece of land in California, Kentucky. That's where I am.
Oh, I know Bambi and her husband. I forget their last name. Gee, they own the bar there in California.
Really? Are you thinking of Ohio or are you thinking of Kentucky?
No, it's in California, Kentucky. There's a bar on the road, and they own the bar, and their house is up on the hill.
I don't know them.
Well, I'll try to remember.
Yeah, just send me a note and I'll.
Well, let's get to your printmaking at NKU. Sure. That was a prestigious position to get a job there at NKU.
Yeah, I taught for 30 years.
30 years printmaking.
Yeah, I ran the program, the department, and actually, most of the people in this show, well, they're either a colleague, except for Saad, Paige, and Randall. Well, no, Randall was my student. Kathleen was my student. Charmin was my student. Who else is in it? Jolene was my student. So we're kind of family.
Yes, I got that from doing a little research on everybody in the show. I graduated from NKU with a master's in, with a bachelor's in communications and a minor in painting.
Who is your painting teacher?
Gee,
Memorable, huh?
Howard Storm.
Oh, Howard. When Howard was chair, that's when I was hired when Howard was still there. And shortly after that, he has had his big epiphany and left.
He's
And
still a
so,
preacher, isn't he?
what, he became a preacher. Yeah, he had a near-death experience.
Yes, yes, yes. I've always worshipped the pottery kiln and the printmaking. It was always so like sacrosanct, you know. It was a group of people up there doing something with clay or printing press. And
Right, it's something that you can't just, I mean, the concept of painting, even though it's much more difficult than people think, is something people can grasp. You know, any kind of art for the general public is either drawing or painting. But you get into printmaking, and believe me, for 30 years, almost every year I had shows with everyone. I made sure my students were in shows. And we would put up a thing to explain the printmaking processes, and nobody ever gets it. They'll always say something about your paintings, you know,
right.
or, but it's just too, you have to do it to understand it. And even colleagues don't understand it. So it's disheartening.
Well, now you got NFTs to deal with.
Right. Nobody gets that.
Well, the idea of multiples is exciting. I was a silk screener at the Kindle Silk Screening Company. It was right below NKU. I was an artist in residence for many years there, and so I became a master silk screener.
So you're a printmaker.
I was, and I still have some of those prints too. I'm trying to find homes for. They're like little orphans. They need someone to adopt them.
Well, have a show.
Well, I'd like to have a show here. I'd like to have a retrospective show.
Yeah, why not?
Well, I'm working on it. There's going to be a Clifton artist show coming up, and they're being a Clifton artist. I've threw in my hat in the ring, and hopefully I have a few pieces in here. But
Good.
it's nice to have a show every 4 or 5 years just to keep your nose to the grindstone.
Yeah. It was one of the things that I felt very strongly about when I was teaching, is there was no point in giving them all these skills and all this ability. You know, I used to make everybody, because I was a theater major and a dancer before I did this. You know, I just make all the students stand up there in front of their work, every crit, and talk about it to get used to doing that, because, you know, it's a skill you got to learn if you're going to do it. You can talk about it. It's certainly going to make your way easier.
Yes, I often think the art museum should, when they show like a collection of Rembrandt's etchings, they should have an etcher there working on similar work of Rembrandt. And the audience would be quite mystified that, wow, he's really doing what Rembrandt did.
Well, when Kristen Spangenberg mounted the Czechoslovakian printmakers, mostly Jiří Anderle, they put plates. It's very hard to be working on it because it just involves so much, but they have done similar things. I know April Foster has set up little presses in the museum for teachers, when they have teachers' night. But I don't know, it's never really particularly gotten anybody all that excited.
We have an in-person guest has arrived, and there's a sign there at the post office. Well, I know all those people. I just thought of an etcher sitting there scratching
a plate. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He doesn't really have to do anything except have all his tools there. And
yeah, well, we did that. We did all that. We do all that. They still don't get it. You really have to go through how the paper gets on the plate,
Right.
how they don't understand that you put them, that acid actually puts a mark in the plate. I mean, it's just so esoteric.
I guess that's why they don't do it then. It's too esoteric. For me, it would be
I think it's a
interesting.
great idea. It's just, and people do it. We go, all the years that I taught, we went to conferences and they always have demos and they always have this stuff, but it just seems like it's only interesting to us.
Well, that's a important point. You have to make the art interesting to the public at large. And I'm going on a road trip soon, and I'm trying to think of my motif. And I thought I would go and paint a painting in every city I was visiting about local news issues, whether it be a police pullover that turned bad, or a iconic statue getting torn down, but actually to paint those items in the news. At least the public can hold on to something.
Well, that's a great idea. That's pretty ambitious.
Well, it is, and we'll see how. But I go on these road trips with my partner, and we're visiting relatives, and I have lots of free time. So I paint something, and it comes back to subject matter. Like, how do you consider subject matter or the motif?
Oh, that's a very long thing.
Well, make it short.
Well, this show is not this is the first time I've ever done this. This is a whole new thing. And I wrote about it. So there's an artist. Do you have the artist statement?
No, I didn't get the artist statement.
Oh, well, we all were supposed to write them, and I did write one, and it explains this. I don't know if you also went to look at my website, which is it's not updated at all, but it'll show you the kind of work that I do,
right?
And then you'll understand a little bit more. This work is completely unique. It's not something I've ever done before, but basically, subject matter to me comes from my experience in theater and dance, and all of my early images, which were they were called magical realism, but they're mostly rooms and buildings and entrances and exits. And
I'll go to your website and get your
take a look, and you can ask me specifically if there's something.
I'll post it on the Facebook page for the gallery.
Okay.
Because these things should.
But I better update it.
It is what it is, but I need to get that in. But we're a struggling gallery. We don't have a lot of staff, so.
Oh, I get it.
But
it's nice that you're doing this.
But Pages and John Hoosterman have done just a phenomenal job of turning this place into a world-class space, really. I think we have world-class shows here.
It's lovely. It's really lovely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, I'm coming tomorrow with some friends because they want to see the show. So we're going out for lunch at the art museum, and then we're going to come over.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of your pieces, they're kind of yellow and they have like floating objects.
Yeah, that sold, and another one did. Paige said her mother bought the sage one. Chloe. Excuse me.
No, it's fine. We like the ambiance.
Yeah, and then, but these are all eco-dyed prints, which means that I use leaves and materials from, plants.
So the dye is really from the plant?
It's all from the tannins in the leaves.
Right. Oh.
And what you do is you make a bath with rust and with vinegar, water, and rust. And this is the simple version. There's a lot of ways to do it. Who is that? Do I know you?
I can't see you. Oh, there you are.
Hi.
It's Steve Lansky, a local.
Oh,
artist.
okay. You look like another friend of mine. Hi, Steve.
Hi, what was your name?
Andrea Knarr.
Hi, Andrea, how are you?
This is
I'm
her
good.
picture on the right, the yellow large piece, the
That
triptych.
piece there?
Yeah, the triptych. And
Okay.
she was just explaining the tanning process.
Okay, so eco dyeing is using the plant material, the tannins in the plants. Some plants work better than others. You go and you collect this plant material, and this is the simple version, and people do it a lot of different ways, but you make a bath of water and vinegar and you put rusted nails in it.
Mm.
And then you boil it for, you pack all of the plants between papers or cloth. You could do it on cloth. And then I use a PVC pipe, and you roll it all up very tightly and wrap it with a string around it. And then drop it into this water bath, this boiling bath. You boil it for an hour. And then depending on how long you want to leave it in, or, that's all variable. But and it also, everything depends on everything, and you can't really control it. You just don't know. So it's it's a big mystery. And for me, it's wonderful because up till now, I've always planned everything very meticulously.
What kind of plants were they?
I'm sorry, what?
What sort of plants? What?
Okay, smoke tree leaves, roses, sage,
Okay.
maple leaves. The yellow one is mostly, I think that's red twig dogwood leaves.
Okay.
And some of them work better than others. So maple leaves work great. Let's see, black walnut is really nice.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, that whole process releases the tannins into the paper. The paper makes a big difference. Some papers will accept it better than others. That happens to be Reeves, I think. They call it heavyweight, but it's lighter than everything else. And you can see that those little sweeping lines, that's
Right.
from the rust.
Right. Well, it made me, well, I'm glad you explained it, because here I thought that you had actually sort of etched that out.
I did, but I didn't do it by hand.
But what a wonderful transfer of fine detail.
I know, and it was a total surprise. I mean,
The leaf detail is just because the leaf sat against the water in the
it's
paper.
tightly woven and it's pressed into the paper,
Got
and
it.
then it releases its tannins into the whatever it's rolled in. People do this on fabric.
Mhm.
Eucalyptus leaves.
What do you use to bind it?
Oh, just string.
The string, is it an organic string? Does the string matter at all?
I don't know. I didn't pay any attention. I think it's just rope, regular, hemp, rope, whatever,
Okay.
nothing special. Cotton. I mean, but it doesn't matter.
'Cause that doesn't get wet.
Oh yeah, it gets wet.
Okay, but it doesn't, it's on the back, I guess. That's
Some of them will show where the rope was on just the part that's been woven. You can also sandwich them. The other two pieces in there, the small ones, those were sandwiched, like instead of rolled, and then clamped. And then you put some other paper on top of it and you wrap it so that the outside paper, so that it doesn't pick up the string. But, there's a lot.
What, how far ago, they must have been doing this like 10,000 years ago.
I don't know. It's COVID, and it was a great thing to be doing because I have always been very meticulous at working with color etching, 3 plates or 4 plates.
Yes.
And big plates, and everything was really laborious, and I loved that, but this was just fun.
Wow, that's totally cool. We really enjoy.
If you want to look it up, there's a bazillion YouTube videos and Etsy sites for eco-dyed prints.
Right. Right.
So just look them up. And you can see the whole, everybody does it a little bit differently. The plants where you live make a difference. There's beautiful prints coming from eucalyptus leaves, but they're the Australian eucalyptus. The ones here will print, but they aren't the same. They don't get that beautiful orange color.
Well, my partner doesn't like it when the leaves fall on our porch and stain the porch.
Well, gather them up and make prints.
Well, it should make a nice fabric dye, I suppose. It would.
Oh yeah, you could. I'm telling you, look, go online. It's just everywhere.
Yes, yes.
So, yeah. So this was like a gift that I'm very glad to accept. The only thing I did was, orchestrate how to cut it up and how to put it together. But mostly, I didn't have to draw it. I didn't have to. Some people do draw. Kathleen is using the same process for the backgrounds of her images. So she's printing on them with dry point or with etching, putting, her specific images on there. And that works too. So they're fun. Some people just like to do this and then just take a pen and kind of mess around with them. It's so easy. It's so wonderful compared to etching.
You would call this a monoprint.
Yeah, it's one of a kind, and it may never ever I may never be able to get that again. Who knows? Because it all depends.
Yeah, there's one right there.
Yeah, that's sage and roses and sage.
Yes, yes.
Nice to meet you.
All right, Steve. Thanks for stopping in.
Bye, Steve.
Yeah, Steve is a wonderful Clifton asset. He's published several books. He's a well-known author and artist. He's done it all independently after much training at the universities.
Well, that's sort of, we have lots of thoughts about that, but that's a longer conversation.
Well, this is really totally cool how we've been able to delve right deeply into your work. And
well, thank you. I'll answer questions anytime, but I hope somebody shows up for this.
Well, you never know, but I'll format it and put it up on YouTube and send you a link of the show.
Okay.
So
good. Good. That's nice. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for doing this. It's fun.
No, it's totally. I used to broadcast at Clifton Market for a long time. If you know much about the Clifton Market, it struggled as a co-op, and then it became a private grocery store. And during the struggling times, I started broadcasting like 2.5 hours a day, just interviewing people that came into the store and keeping the ball rolling. And I was sort of like the cheerleader for the market.
That's great. That's
so now
great.
I'm the cheerleader for Off Ludlow Gallery.
Once a cheerleader, always a cheerleader.
So this is a nice format where we show all the slideshow of the art. Gallery, and then you and a little vignette. It'll make a nice video.
Good.
For what we want.
Good. Well, thank you for doing this.
Yes,
appreciate it. And good luck to all of us.
Yes, and everybody can tune in and watch it in perpetuity.
In perpetuity. Okay.
Thank you, Andrea.
Bye-bye. Nice meeting you.
Yes, sir. Is that you?
Yeah, it's me. Thought I'd just say hello.
Well, good. Welcome to the gallery.
Yeah, it's fun.
Did you make the opening?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Awesome. I love the room. It's great. I met Saud when I was there. Yeah. That's right. Anyway, keep going. I'm just eavesdropping.
Well, we had a nice interview with Andrea. I forget her last name. She's the print teacher at NKU for many years.
Oh, wow.
And
I love the insects.
This is a slideshow of all the art in the show, but her work was taking leaves and various things that had tannic qualities and transferring it to the paper.
Beautiful.
incredible transfer of detail. It looked like it was done with a fine point pen. Just fantastic work. So it was nice to meet her. And we have Steve Lansky here. You might know Steve.
Hi, Steve.
Hi, Peter.
Well,
Just the three of us.
yes,
Anyway,
yes.
Keep talking.
Time travel.
We're trying to
I know.
beckon people in from the street.
Good luck.
If we had chocolate, Tom, I think they'd be here in droves.
Well, we have a little wine and snacks. I don't know what else we can do, but is it supposed to ice up tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Steve,
Anyway, keep chatting. I just want to say hello.
oh, we've been chatting for a long time. I think we've run out of things to say.
Okay.
I'll have to start playing guitar pretty soon. Maybe you can play.
I'll play.
Yeah, here, I'll bring you the guitar over.
All right.
Let me take that.
I'll see you guys.
Bye.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Well, here comes my friend Saad Ghosn. And Bill, all right, welcome.
Hi, Steve.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good to see you, Bill. All right.
How are you doing?
Good.
How was the evening?
Yeah, fine.
So what are you doing? You're gonna be like interviewing people?
Well, we're live on Zoom.
Oh my goodness.
And bring out a couple more chairs.
So what are you doing?
Well, we're really just talking about your prints, and in your case, you've had a long process of black and white prints, and mostly they're somewhat political. So,
And where would this be showing?
we'll put it up on YouTube. I got a YouTube channel that's mostly it's all Clifton.
Yeah.
It started with my interviews down at Clifton Market, and now we moved over to the gallery. So now I just sit at the gallery and people tune in or they drop in like Steve.
That's good.
Andrea, the printmaker here,
Andrea Knarr?
Yeah.
She came?
she was zoomed in. But are you working on prints now?
You know, the last ones, I enjoyed a year ago. I did a lot actually, the whole series, and I enjoyed my.
But you're going on with your print, you're working on a print currently?
Are you already zooming?
Yes, we're live.
Well, you know, I haven't. I'm not currently working on a print. I'm working on something else because, you know, probably a few months ago, I was going through a lot of wood cut carving, and I injured my my finger. So I stopped for a while. I'm afraid to get back and doing it and injuring it again. And I've been very busy, you know, doing
Where were you cut?
projects. No, I didn't cut it, but you know, it became very swollen and I couldn't bend it. So I had to have a corticosteroid injection in it. And it's better now. I can bend it, but it's still a problem. It's still painful a little bit. So I haven't done any new ones. I did the series that I have here of the Beatitudes. I did it during the pandemic. I really was in search, you know, with loneliness, with isolation, with all the things that were going on in the world. I was really in search of some spiritual dimension to my life and connecting with the world. And I've been all the time very close to the Beatitudes, and I felt, wow, this would be a good thing to do. So I decided to do them. I decided to do them in Arabic. And I didn't want anything representational. I wanted them to be like more meditative, more spiritual, connected to the cosmos in a way. And that's what I did. So I did 9 of them, and each of them represent one of the Beatitudes. And the design of these 9 are very similar, because kind of like you have all the time a circle, and the circle is a title written in Arabic, the title of the Beatitude. And in the background, you have the whole Beatitude going on, but it's like, you know, kind of like an incantation, because you see it repeating it, and then it goes to the edge of the print, and the background is abstract, cosmos-like. I was very happy with the series. You have 3 here. And I did a lot of carving of others, some images that I have from before. For instance, you know, the big one that you have here, it's the bird and the snake. I had a drawing of it before, and I decided to make it into a print, so I kind of translated it into a print. I carved it, and it has some social meaning in a way. What it is, you know, I call it in French, un malin malin et demi. Malin in French means, I don't know the exact translation, but it can be shrewd, or it can be tricky, you know. So someone who may play tricks or who may be shrewd, you know. And what I was saying, so in French, I say to a shrewd and a half. To a tricky person, a tricky and a half. I mean, kind of like you can be all the time outdone by someone if you want to be. And that's the message about it. That you know,
Is the snake the tricky person?
Correct, and the other one is kind of like getting it in a way. So that's what it is. But you know, I'm very interested in the design also, and all of these are woodcuts. So they are carved in wood, and then the process is a relief process in which, after you carve the piece, the white that you carve is what you see white, because you know, then you cover the plate with a thick ink, and the ink doesn't go into the places, into the grooves that you carve. It stays at the surface. And then you put your paper on the surface and you press it. So the ink which is at the surface comes on the paper, and whatever you carved is white. So that's why I call it.
And where do you print them?
Relief. So those, you know, I had, usually I used to print them, Bill and I would print them at Tiger Lily.
Right.
But because of the pandemic and so on, I couldn't. And I had a friend of mine who had started a print gallery and shop. Maybe you know him. His name is Andy Au, and his wife is Jen Purdom. They're both very excellent artists, and they started a press that they called Fuse Press. So you know, Jen printed them for me. So she did the printing. She printed actually the Beatitudes and this one, and actually I printed 20 large prints that I did during that period, 20 large, and she printed all of them. Yeah.
Well, that's a lot of work.
It was
legacy of prints. It seems that the print really has become your friend. It's your go-to form of art.
Correct, and for many reasons, you know. Before I didn't know what prints were. I was doing mostly colorful, very colorful paintings, and then I went when after 9/11 and after actually the racial events in Cincinnati after April 2001. I started doing a lot of black and white drawings. And a very good friend of mine, who is also an excellent printmaker, Mark Patzfeld, saw them and he said, "Hey, Saad, yours would translate so well into a print. Why don't you do them as prints?" I thought, I don't know, you know, I don't have any education. He said, "I'll show you." So he showed
Mark
me.
Is the way to do it.
Yeah, he showed me in half an hour, you know, how to do it, and then I picked it. Now, prints, woodcuts in particular, are interesting to their immediate, and they are stark, they are direct. The black and white gives them a very strong image, and then they can be very well used for social messaging.
Yes.
And that's what all my work kind of is about, social issues. And I felt it was really a great medium to use. And I like it, it's immediate.
Yes.
So,
One of your pieces is a political statement.
I try to. I mean, there are some that are kind of like fanciful, but in general, there's all the time
or
like
biblical statements, or
there's a statement.
scriptural.
There's a statement, yeah.
Yeah, always. It's a great thing to focus on. It really gives you a great steerage on your ship when you base it in a political disaster or.
Well, I mean, for me, when I think of art, you know, it is your voice, correct? And it's your way of communicating. For instance, you're an artist. If you want to communicate something, you use your art. And for me, if I want to communicate who I am, I need to communicate what I think, what I feel, what I like, what I dislike. So it cannot just be copying something, or there is room for it. There is room to have a beautiful landscape. There is room to paint a beautiful apple. You know, all of this is nice. But for me, I like to go further, at least in my day-to-day practice of art. So I cannot really all of my art be about disconnected from what I think, who I am, what I believe. Occasionally, yes, you know, I can be fanciful, I can be playful, I can be, but it cannot be all the time because it wouldn't be me. So I want my art to connect with myself. I want my art to connect with who I am, what I believe, what I want to add in this world, what I want to keep in it. Well, and this is like becomes a message. Yes.
You're painting you're doing what needs to be done.
I don't know. I mean, that's how I believe art is. I believe that art has to reflect the artist. Correct?
You'd say it has to reflect our life and times.
Very good. Because it reflects the artist, it reflects the time of the artist, and it reflects the life in general. And that's actually what I say. I think art should not be only for the sake of art. It should be for the sake of artists. Then if it's for the sake of the artist, it becomes for the sake of the artist's life. And then if it's for the sake of the artist's life, it becomes for the sake of life in general. Because, you know, the artist's life is part of life. So, yeah, I mean, that's what you're saying is right.
You're a giant as an artist, as far as your life being significant and important, especially with your work in social justice.
Well,
I mean, it's almost, you've got a huge ship you're steering. If you wanted to paint, you go out and do some impressionist paintings of wonderful views and scenes. Well, that has a place too, but
exactly,
it's not going to change the world. Your stuff really.
Well, I believe that it should reflect what I believe also.
You're a strong believer.
Yeah, and I use my expression in this respect. I can really find there's a lot of room for fanciful art, for ludical, you know.
Lyrical?
In French is ludique, kind of like when you dream of something or something playful, you know, there is room for that, but you should not limit all of your expression to that. And unfortunately, our society frequently wants you to limit it to that, because people tell you, the galleries want to sell your work, and they impose on you, do this work because that pleases this.
They told you this?
Not me, because I don't go to galleries, but they tell you, you know.
And they don't tell me either. I'm still trying to get in a gallery, so.
But galleries are pretty much like that. They will tell you, you know, don't do art that can bother people, that can disturb, that cannot be beautiful. People want to buy this. I have a client who liked your painting that you did on this. Why don't you redo this? Because I can sell it. This takes you away from you. If you end up following in the trap, your voice is going to disappear also, because your real voice will be gone.
That's true. Phyllis Weston once gave me some advice. She said, can't you just paint mothers and children, you know?
For instance, and if you had followed her advice, your real voice would have been silenced, because then you would have been doing it, and whatever inside you that needs to get out would not have the chance to get out, and it will disappear.
You would not be part of what that you have to go with your own. You have to go with your own soul, and if you can tweak it a little bit to help the market,
it's okay.
It's okay.
I mean, from time to time,
so
it's
much.
good. It's good from time to time just to be playful and just to dream and just not to be serious, like in any relationship. I mean, you don't want it to be all the time heavy serious, but you shouldn't allow the other part to take over and silence what's inside you. And I think that's really the problem that frequently people have. They do something that appeals, and then they stick to it, and then whatever inside them will go away progressively.
I have always had a hard time trying to find a goal or a mission statement, and I was so thankful for you to guide me to painting my shrine portraits.
Yeah.
I still do it. I've still got a whole 6 of them I have to put out, maintain and interacting with the family.
And you know what you're saying is so important, because we are in a society where what is really what triggers is not, people do not want to trigger your real creativity and what's inside you. They want to trigger consumerism. They want to trigger something.
Who said that?
Ask him.
Don't ask me.
Nobody in this room, right?
They want to trigger something that they can, a commodity, a product they can sell. And if that's the case, they're not providing you a venue and an opportunity that can help you expand and express who you are. And through SOS Art, so many artists came to me afterward and tell me, Saad, because, and it's not me, I'm just creating a venue.
Yes.
Because of the venue that you're creating, it is allowing us to really express who we are and to look at our art differently. Why? Because otherwise there's no such a venue. So
when is the next venue? When's the deadline for the next?
Okay, well, SOS Art this year is going to be, the opening will be June 24, I think, at the Art Academy, and that will go till July 10th. And the call to artists is already there, and it's open to anyone, because by definition, SOS Art is not juried and wants to be open. I want to clarify one thing. First, when I started SOS Art, by definition, it was non-juried.
Yes.
It was open to anyone who
Extremely important.
who wanted to do something coming from their heart and their message.
And it was accepted.
And many people in the beginning, until now probably, would say, oh, you know, if you do this, the quality is going to go down, what's going to happen? And I was of the other opinion. I said, maybe, but, you know, if something comes from the heart of the artist, because the artist believes in it, it is bound to be strong. It is bound to touch someone. And my example all the time was really look at children's art. Children's art is not really a sophisticated art that has been learned how to do conceptually this and this. And children's art is very strong. They come directly from their heart. And the more they do it, the better it comes. And so this was my point of view, that if you let someone, you give them the opportunity to express themselves truly and truthfully. That's an important thing, is that you cannot express yourself just to please someone. If you really follow what's in your heart, what's inside you, and use it to, you know, in your art is going to be powerful. And maybe it may be awkward at the beginning. You may not have the technique, but the more you do it, the stronger even your expression is going to be.
So true, right? I'm still trying to find my expression, my goal, my mission in art. I grew up as a copyist. I mastered the old techniques, and when you do that, people look at it like, well, they're unusually pleasantly happy about whatever, but there's no message there. Just to be able to duplicate the masters,
but
doesn't make it a master.
If you stop to that, you know, I mean, you've done it, you acquire the technique, but if people, by their reaction and by they expect you, limit you to that, therefore, it's going to be detrimental to you. If on the contrary, you develop the technique and then you say, hey, you know, I am really upset here by the way women are treated, because my wife has been treated badly as a woman, or my daughter, and I want to express that about it, then you will put your technique at the service of what's inside you. This will be something different. Yeah.
I needed a catastrophe in my household to stimulate my art.
No, you don't need a catastrophe, but you need what you live. I mean, right now, the Ukraine war, and you see, you know, people bullying others and so on. If this is really affects you enough, you can put it in your art.
I wanted to, but it's been elusive for me, and I'm still looking for that. I want to. The only conclusion I've come up with is that it's best to paint contemporary themes in the old style, things out of the newspaper, powerful stories in the newspaper. If you can sort of twist it into a classic form, you got a better chance of it lasting and still.
And so if that represents you, it's fine. As long as it represents you, as long as it's not really in response to someone else telling you, I want this because I like it, and then you end up limiting yourself to it.
I'm preparing a road trip south, and I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to motif on. I could paint. I've got so many styles that are just worn out to me. I'm looking for a little something that cuts above the mustard, but it always has to be a political statement. You've got to have that.
Well, anything end up being political. For instance, I own one of your paintings that you did for SOS ART, and that I love, which is, the Statue of the Liberty, the scene from afar. From you were, what do you say? You were on a boat at that time.
Right,
sailing.
right.
I mean, it's a beautiful piece, and it has a message. It has a message. First of all, by the symbol of the
Statue of Liberty.
The statue, and then by the fact that you see it kind of like at the end, it's either calling you or disappearing. I mean, you can really look at it in both ways. Either it's calling you to get close to her, or it's getting away from you, realizing, hey, what we believe in is disappearing. But it has a message, so it's not only a representation of beautiful statue. But you did it at that time. I don't know, that it was really good.
No, thank you.
My thought on this, and just to project about the Statue of Liberty, is that I think there's also a trippiness that is part of art and poetry and
Trippiness.
And that's
What does it mean?
Well, I'll give you an example. I had a poem that I wrote many years ago called "Why is the Statue of Liberty better than the sun?"
Then the sun.
Than the sun.
Then the sun itself.
The sun itself up in the sky. And the poem was about how you could climb up, during her heyday, you could climb up inside the torch, and you could never climb up inside the sun.
Yeah.
That's trippiness.
It's more reachable, you mean? Or?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a way of thinking that, you could never climb up inside the sun, that's imagined. But the Statue of Liberty for people was a light. And that light, to be able to physically climb up inside the light at some point in the history of the statue.
It's very important.
Yeah, and so, I say trippiness in the sense of like the Grateful Dead or Ken Kesey and his Magic Bus or LSD. I think that there's an escape implied, maybe by trippiness, but it's not just escape into nothingness. It's an escape into something bigger than nothingness.
Yeah, and let me add something to what you're saying, that the Statue of the Liberty, there was a message, there was an idea, there was a concept that was behind it.
Yeah.
So, already its mere existence was really representing already something that someone wanted to reach others with it. The torch was meant something. The Statue of the Liberty that they put it in the...
Does the sun mean something?
The sun means a lot. The sun means a lot. But, the sun has not been created different, but people could really do something with the sun.
Yeah.
But it is much, much more probably broad in its concept.
Yeah.
And then people do not relate to it as a human message directly. This one is really someone created that on purpose, put a torch on it on purpose, put this lady, it's a woman, and the lady,
right.
And it's
Our Lady of the Harbor, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So kind of all of this is behind it, and then you relate to it because of the creator's message differently. And that's what I was trying to say, that anyone who has a message and who puts it in their creativity is much more likely to reach someone, because someone is going to relate to it as a human and grasp it. And that's why we need to do it all. We need all to put in our art, in our poetry, in our drawings, in our music, in our talking, in our relationship. We need to put what's human and that what someone else could really relate to and would communicate. It's our communication.
The artist who developed the Statue of Liberty, it was the heyday of this sculpture motif, and this happened to be his mission to get this statue financed and installed. It was a classic example of the artist driving this huge endurance, got the French government behind it, got the American government behind it, installed the thing,
But it was also a symbol. It was a message. It was.
But his artistic.
It also has been let deteriorate. You can't climb up inside the torch anymore. I don't think.
No, they've rebuilt the interior with
It's
stainless
come and
steel.
gone over different.
Yeah, they don't do
Time
that anymore. It's been more protected, but
Yeah, but just all of that. It's like a grand narrative is what we've created about.
it is. And I think to think of what I'm trying to say is that we're going to make up a new motif these days. It still somewhat has to be based in the classic arts, you know, this classic core arts, in order for the public to really sink their teeth into it. It was easy to do when they designed the Statue of Liberty because figurativism or realism was very popular. But now we need to. Your prints are a good example of this. You're trying to anchor it in somewhat of a reality, but then still keep your mission of the statement. With the snake and the bird, it's a good example. You can clearly see what it is, and then you can keep the message. It's like when you write a story, you can't just change the words. You can't make up different sentences. You have to use some sort of something. And this is the tough part.
I mean, expression. I mean, it's a language. Art is a language. Poetry is a language. And a language is really meant to communicate. So you use it.
No, it's Tom's got the Zoom camera going at the gallery.
Oh, hey, Eric.
Hey, how you doing?
Fine, we're having a wonderful discussion here with Steve Lansky, Saad Ghosn, and myself and other people in the gallery. So you're seeing a slideshow of the art.
Yeah, I see that. Looks good.
Yeah, thank you. But Saad is working on, what number of SOS is this year?
This year is number 20.
20. He collects, anybody can submit art to be presented at the Art Academy in June.
It's June 24 to July 10.
And when's
And
the
it's-
deadline?
The deadline for application is June 5.
June 5.
And it's
June
art
5. Huh?
for peace and justice.
You know, anything associated with peace and justice. It's a wonderful. And you're also come back from recently from Czechoslovakia?
Czech Republic, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
We were having a show of Czech Republic, Czech prints. It's opening July 16 at Kennedy Heights Art Center. There are 30 prints by 30 printmakers, 120 prints. And it is meant as a reflection of their social and cultural condition. It's going to be a wonderful show. And in parallel, we're going to have a mini cultural festival of Czech culture. And we're going to have a mini movie festival of Czech movie. So it's going to be, and it's going to be between mid-July to mid-September.
It's great. And then when you were in Czech, when you were in Prague, did you get to go through some of those old fantastic buildings?
I did.
High ceilings and
It was wonderful. I mean, Prague was really wonderful, and I went twice, and both times was not at all during tourist season. So I got to enjoy the city, meet people, connect personally with fans. And this time I met more than 20 artists, visited them, visited their studio, connected with them. It was wonderful. Yeah.
wow.
I had really a great time. Would like to go back. And actually, for the show that opens July 16 at Kennedy Heights, I'm inviting 2 Czech artists, you know, a man and his partner, and she is also an excellent artist, and both of them are in the show. They're going to come here and give a little talk about the show, about you know, art, Czech art, and so on.
I look forward to being there.
Yeah, this would be a great show. SOS ART, we just now a new home base, which is at Mount Auburn Presbyterian Church. And right now, in the month of March, you know, we are organizing 2 shows on transgender individuals. One, which is a collection of self-portraits, artistic self-portrait by transgender individuals, and poems in response by local poets. And this show is called Inside Out. And it's Jay DeFazio who started the self-portrait components, and SOS Art took it as a show. And at the same time, we have a very moving show by 23 transgender artists who all, put work relating to their condition, to what they're going through, to their issues. It is a wonderful show because it's very moving and it opens, horizons to so many of us to understand our humanity differently. And then on March 26th, it's on a Saturday, from 2 to 6 at Mount Auburn Presbyterian Church, we're going to have what you call a transgender recognition event, where we're going to have a transgender panel on 2 transgender people are going to speak, male to female, female to male, are going to speak about their path, their transitioning. 2 people are going to speak about the medical aspects of being transgender, what's available, what can be done, but also what are the side effects that you can experience. And 2 other people are going to address the relational aspect of being transgender. Your relations with your friends, your relations with your family, and also your relation with your partner. And then we're going to have poetry readings by the poets in the book. This is really going to be a very, very important event, very moving event.
And where is Mount Auburn?
Mount Auburn Presbyterian Church is on Wm Howard Taft. Do you know where is CVS on Wm Howard Taft?
Yes.
If you continue, do you know where is Cinco? What used to be Cinco Superior now?
Yes.
It's right after, across the street. It's on the same place. There is an old, beautiful church. This is Wm Howard Taft. This is Mount Auburn Presbyterian Church.
Okay.
It's very, very close.
Yeah, right in Clifton Heights.
Exactly. And the address is 103 Wm Howard Taft. So I don't know if first of all, I would really encourage you to come. First of all, to see the show, to read the statements, to be in touch with all of this community, which is us, and what they're going through. Yes. The other thing, if you can be there at the event, because the event is going to be an opportunity for transgender to come and for people who are not transgender to learn, and then really to be educated about the issue, to see the reality, because we're far from it. So we're doing this, and these are things that we need to do. We need to give venues to people to be able to use their voice, let them be heard. The
transgender African Americans have a terrible struggle.
All transgender. You should really see, if you come to the show, it's going to touch you, because you really need to see this artwork and what they're writing behind it, what they're, the suffering they go, or sometimes the happiness of being able to transition, being able to meet someone who accepts them, or meet a parents who loves them for who they are.
Right.
But also the pain of sometimes being rejected. It's a beautiful, beautiful show, really.
It's like a balance between being trans and an extrovert, and then trans as an introvert. Both have a tremendous challenge in their lives.
So please come. And
this is March.
Okay, the show is open right now. And the only problem with Mount Auburn Presbyterian Church, it's not accessible all the time. So we're making hours every Friday and Saturday from 2 to 5. So for instance, today it was open from 2 to 5. Tomorrow it will be open from 2 to 5. And this is until April 3rd. But on March 26th, which is a Saturday, from 2 to 6, there's going to be the panel discussion, the poetry reading, the music playing, and a closing reception for the shows. And this will be, it's a Saturday, March 26th, from 2 to 6. I don't know, I can send you this information. There's a way you can spread it.
I will put it in this video, and it'll be in the comments. The details. I'll get it.
Whatever. If you want something more, I'll be happy to give you more information.
No, thank you, Sonia.
Please come. Come, because it will be, and you will actually in your report, you're going to see. I should have asked you to participate, as a poet, but you should really see the response of the poets to the self-portrait. So the poets who participated 98% are cis, they're not trans. And for many, it was their first encounter with a trans reality. And this encounter was really the self-portrait. I sent them the image and with the statement of the artist. And they took the statement and they responded with very touching poetry.
I was exposed to a poet who's no longer living, Carrie Edwards. I don't know if you're familiar. K-A-R-I Edwards, just like it sounds. And I think Carrie Edwards identified as transgender, but I'm not sure. And about my age. And there's something about poetry which is clearly not gender identified, that in this particular poet's work, it's powerfully different. It speaks to a side of a reader in a way that can't be explained. It has to be experienced.
Yeah, and you know, all the poetry, and now the poets that responded to this one are, the majority are non-transgender. There are 2 poets who are transgender, who are in the poetry book and who responded. And I learned, you know, it's an area that also was very new to me, but you learn that it's a very, very fluid, open field on a very large spectrum. You have people who are very clear about their gender identity. You have others who are not. You have others who are still searching. You have some people who are completely asexual. This is one of the poets who submitted this year for the poetry book, and she is also there. You know, she says that she doesn't understand, you know, when you say I'm attracted to a man or I'm attracted to a woman, because for her, there has never been such an attraction. She doesn't really know. So kind of like, it takes you by, sometimes surprises you, because we expect something different. You know, we were born, we were taught, we were educated in seeing kind of like this or that. You know? And suddenly you're open to a world that is all in between. And it's difficult, but at the same time, it enriches your vision of what you see. Yeah. So the poetry can be very different, yes.
Yeah, it's not like we're all going to become trans. It's a very small minority.
No, but it puts you in touch with the humanity. And that's what I say, you know, being in touch with trans, it doesn't mean that you want to be trans, but it opens your mind of really accepting someone else, and that our humanity is a composite of things. Like, for instance, you know, it doesn't have to be with sex. It can be with anything. Your moral values, you know, your moral values sometimes can be here to them. Your compassion sometimes can be here to them. Your sense of honesty can be from here to there. So it makes you more tolerant of the other. It makes you more tolerant of what's going on. It makes you more accepting of diversity. You know,
I imagined a civilization where they were welcoming to this small minority of their population and sort of brought them in and allowed them to be themselves without being threatened.
And that's what
I don't know what society that is. Do we know?
That society?
Yes. Is it some of the
well, I have a friend
and
from India, and she told me about that. She said, you know, Saad, in India, trans people are kind of perceived as powerful people. So people kind of respect them, and sometimes are afraid from them. Of them. What do you mean?
like a shaman or?
Yeah, that finally they have something different because they really know more than you. And then if a trans, for instance, curses you, in India, you know, people are very, very upset because they think that it's going to materialize.
I think it's interesting how in many cultures, the occult or some version of it, we use the word curses you, the phrase curses you. And this is a concept that carries over from culture to culture. I don't know. I guess my thought about gender identity is that when it's first framed, it seems threatening to the shell of who I am.
Yeah.
And then once I sit with it for a minute, it doesn't seem that threatening. It just seems like a person identifies with his or her or their body in a different way and is attracted maybe to other genders in a different way than I am. So what's particularly threatening about that? There's nothing.
What's threatening is the education that you get that want to make anything different from us a threat. And
Well,
that's really the problem, that we grew up in a society, in a system where things have to be black or white or this or that.
I think when we talk about othering, alterity is the philosophical term for it, I think. We quickly get into an area where people have fear.
Yeah, absolutely.
And fear usually is numbing and thrilling. And so some people groove on that and other people shy away from it. And often in those fear moments, we have conflict. And conflict usually develops over othering circumstances, older people versus younger people, red-haired people versus brown-haired people, gray-haired people versus white-haired people. And we start looking for differences. But if we start instead to look for the similarities, we pump red blood, we have hearts, we have feet, we have hands, we have eyes.
And you see, what you're saying is exactly 100%, on the target. The problem is that our society takes advantage of this fear to keep us under their control. I mean, fear, they develop this fear, and yeah, anyone can be fearful. If I see a lion in front of me and I even know, I'm going to be fearful. If on the contrary, our society teaches me, no, this lion could be tame, could be your friend, could be, I will react differently than if my society tells me this lion is your enemy, you should get rid of it, you should kill it, because otherwise it's going to kill you. Then, so our society takes the otherness to their advantage.
I think that when you talk about our society, you're generalizing, but I guess the fear becomes a marketing effort. We market fear like anything else.
Yeah.
It's a commodity and it sells papers. If it
Or
bleeds,
even
it leads.
I mean, look at religions.
It keeps us divided in division.
Under control.
And
then I'm from Lebanon, and when you think of the religion war, the civil war that was based on confessions, I mean, it didn't have any reason to exist. But I grew up, I'm Christian, I grew up in a Muslim area, predominantly, we were all friends, we know all each other, we celebrated our thing together. And then once, the different religions, for political purposes and control purposes, wanted to divide us, they started creating problems between us and telling them, this Muslim is going to kill you, you Christian, and you Christian, you're going to kill the Muslim. And then animosity started, fear started, and the civil war continued.
I was at a conference many years ago. I think it was 14 or 12. No, it was earlier than that. It was 6. It was Rabbi Amroué. Are you familiar? Rabbi Amroué. He's a Lebanese performance artist.
Ah, Rabbi Amroué, yes. Rabbi Amroué, yeah.
I met him. Wonderful, interesting man. And he talked about, he gave a paper, and I missed him giving the paper, but I talked to him about it afterwards. He talked about how an elevator works. And imagine an elevator, and you get off an elevator, and you're in a fallout shelter. You're in a fallout shelter. You get on an elevator, you go, are you going to go up or down? What are you going to do in that, a homeless person on an elevator? What's the room you're going to? Where are the doors going to open for you? And just as a metaphor for where we are, I mean, I think as someone interested in social justice and peace and identity, an elevator to what? I mean, when you talk about it, can open on any problem, any set of circumstances. And that's kind of a metaphor for where we are. I mean, in this community, it's very safe. We're coming and going into our homes, into our cars, into our restaurants, into our bars, into our movie theaters, into our stores. But if you're in, say, Ukraine right now, where do the doors open? And what can you do with it?
Anyway,
Well,
I think
we've had a nice show here. I
talked
think
a
we-
lot.
It's 6:02, so that everything's
to
closed
close.
down. We have to say goodbye.
6:03.
603.
And
Well, thank you. Thanks for doing that.
yes,
I don't know.
thank you, Eric, for
We
tuning
did a
in.
lot of philosophy here today.
We'll see you later.
Yeah, thanks. It's interesting.
You're welcome.
I'm out here on the river.
Hi, I'm Nate Heitzman. I'm a front-end cashier here at the Clifton Market. Started a few months ago, and I'd have to say my favorite thing about being here is definitely the community atmosphere. We have our regulars who come in every day and who I know by name, and they know me by name. And we get to converse regularly, keep up on each other's lives, and I know that their being here is going to put a smile on my face just as my being here puts a smile on theirs.